Man, it's been a while. I mean, I know it feels like when I first met you, it's been a long time ago from where you are now. Just does it feel that long for you?
Sometimes it feels, lifetimes ago, and sometimes it feels like yesterday. I think that when you love something and you're passionate about something, that's how it makes you feel.
When you look at just the fighter you are now to before the fighter that won the title, just do you see it just a different person completely?
Yeah, that's one of those feelings that it feels like a lifetime ago that I was that fighter. I feel like I've grown so much, not only as a martial artist, as a human, as a father, as a human, but yeah, definitely when I look back on those fights, I remember my first coach telling me, you're gonna look back on these performances, you're gonna laugh. You're gonna look back and at your technique and how you fought and how you approached the game. And it's nice to go back to even amateur fights and look back and here's this young, hungry kid that had a dream and he chased it. It's why I'm here, getting ready to fight for another main event fight in the UFC.
When you arrived in Sacramento, Team Alpha Male, Ultimate Fitness looked a lot different than it does today. I know you're a part of kind of that original group, but just how much pride do you take in what you see around you?
This is amazing. This is a state-of-the-art facility. Where we come from, I used to fight in pool barns, horse stalls in the middle of Ohio. No air conditioner. We had a gas propane heater that would heat the room. We'd have to wear loads of clothes and strip them off as each round went on because it was so cold in the buildings. So to have this kind of facility, this kind of teammate, training partners, coaches, community that comes here that really supports you, it's amazing to see from when I got here to Team Alpha Male to where it's at now. I mean, I'm super blessed to be able to step in this room and have my dreams coming true, this training, and then obviously this state-of-the-art facility.
You talked to me about when you won the title about how your journey felt like climbing a mountaintop. Has it gone maybe the way that you thought it might? Or how different does it look how different does it appear now to when you looked then?
Looking back on my trajectory of in the UFC, coming to become a world champion, I've always was focused on being the best in the world, and I was able to attain that with hard work, dedication, and a lot of sacrifice. Looking back, of climbing that mountain per se, I didn't have really expectations. I just knew it was going to happen. Now moving forward with what I was able to do, winning the world title on a 3-fight skid, coming back on a big knockout win, about to do another main event in the UFC. I have no expectations. I don't put expectations on myself or my career. I just show up, train hard, work hard, believe in myself. I think self-belief is the biggest power we have as humans, and just to believe in yourself. I mean, no matter how many losses or fights you've lost or whatever's going on in your life, you just got to keep moving forward. Progress is progress.
You had a moment, you had a time where once you got the belt, you accomplished something so early. But then I read somewhere recently where you said you maybe have lost your passion for fighting after that. Is it because you won the belt so early and maybe didn't realize kind of the pressures and maybe the accomplishments, the accolades that come along with it?
I feel like I've always had pressure in my life to succeed, not be a statistic. My father was in and out of prison my whole entire life, so growing up like that, you weren't supposed to make it this far. So there's always this pressure. I never crumbled under pressure. Maybe felt the pressure, but I always felt like that motivated me to succeed in whatever endeavor I was doing. But it was different. I felt I chased this for so long, and winning and obtaining the world championship, it wasn't like I did. It was like it wasn't that. It didn't leave me full. I wanted more, and to the other athletes, younger athletes out there that are setting goals and getting them young, it's to reach the other goals. When you reach one goal, I already have 3, 4 set in a way that might be crazy to even think about when you're on this goal. But have those, not different plans or options, but different goals to reach. And I think that's what would keep you hungry. And after I won the world title, I didn't have, what next? I was actually dealt with injuries, had I tore my knee, tore my back, had to have procedures done. I was out almost a whole year. So I wasn't able to manifest and visualize what my next goal was to do. And the fight came, relatively sooner than I thought. And you have to take the cards that you're dealt with. And learning experience for me in my career early on, and forever grateful. I feel like I've learned so much from those losses than I did on the wins. I shot into the UFC and became a world champion at a young age, and I lost at a young age, but that allowed me to grow in those years of a lot of downtime, injuries, self-doubt, getting away from who I was. And you have to dig deep. That's where you really truly find out who you are, when you're at the bottom. Everyone loves you and praises you when you're at the top and you're climbing, you're doing good things, but at the bottom, man, people like to kick you and keep you down, and they want to fill you with more self-doubt and doubt in yourself. We're born in doubt, we're born in sin, so that just naturally just comes to you. And I feel like going through what I went through has made me a better martial artist with the losses rather than the wins.
We talked about how, I guess each year might be different, but I know that when you fought, I think since 2016, it's only been really one fight, and it's because of maybe some of those setbacks that you talked about. What's an ideal kind of year look like for you?
An ideal for me, I like to be busy, I like to train. I'm always in the gym, I'm always training hard. Injuries are, they happen in our sport. We literally fight, we train to fight. And the way to get in fighting shape is to fight. And your body can only take so much stress. So, being smart with my training, having longevity in my career is what I pray for. What I pray for nightly is to be able to come in here and have a healthy camp, to get inside the octagon, to perform, to use this opportunity to take care of my family and progress in my life. And for me, an ideal year would be fighting 2 to 3 times a year. Ideally, would be perfect. Obviously we're in a pandemic. I fought last year, was healthy. Felt great getting out of there. I was right back in the gym on Monday. Fought Saturday, was back in the gym on Monday. And then, I was getting ready to fight for the world title again. I worked so hard to get there, battled through hell and back. And I got COVID pretty bad, had a lot of, residual effects, vertigo, blood clots, pneumonia. I had it all. It was really bad. I had it for like 4 or 5 months. I was testing positive for it. And finally, I just, overcame it, got healthy, and got back to the training. And it took me a little longer than I expected to feel 100%, but health is number one. So I wanted to be healthy going in there, especially having a son and a family. I want to be here for them and provide for them.
You were considered a long hauler, right? You were considered one of the COVID long haulers, right?
Yeah.
When you and you just, every time you would test, it would be positive?
Yep. Yeah, I think I probably failed 6 to 8 tests, and my doctor was like, "Hey, we're gonna stop testing you because you're obviously carrying the virus. Like it's in you." I mean, I don't know how long it stayed in, or what happened with it. Obviously there's different information about COVID, but it took me a while. It took me about about half the year to start feeling like myself again.
How about now?
I feel great. Yeah, I mean, this is the best camp I've had, the hardest I've pushed probably in my career. I know what's at stake here. I know, when you get an opportunity, it has to be met with preparation, and that's what we were able to do this last 8 to 10 weeks, and we're ready to go out there and capitalize on this opportunity.
Before you got to COVID, and obviously you mentioned some of the injuries, people know that this is a violent sport. You got to fight to stay ready and all that. But you've kind of had a long string of injuries for yourself. Can you kind of detail maybe what that first one was that you experienced, and then what came next along the timeline? Or is that just too many?
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, I had a knee injury that I think correlated with a back, tearing my back, tore my hand ligaments in a couple different places, in my wrist, my hand, just, tore my AC joint. So I've had a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, this is the most violent sport in America, in the world. But this is what I love to do. This is what I visualize myself doing since I was a kid. I get to come to work with my friends and train every day and push myself to the breaking point. I put those deposits in every day of my hard work. My work ethic's judged daily. And I get to come in these walls with my team, my coaches, and test myself daily. So I'm fulfilled with this.
I talk to athletes in other sport, obviously the NBA a lot, and oftentimes when they get an injury, sometimes it can still linger in the back of their mind where they're thinking about, oh, what if I do this again? When you experience so many of those, is that ever a moment in your mind where you go, okay, this injury makes me change X, Y, or Z? Does it linger with you in the back of your mind at all?
The back did. The back was probably obviously one of the worst injuries you can have. It just affects everything. The rehab for that was pretty intense, with my physical therapist. But you know what? It's like, I know what I signed up for. I know that I'm able to come back from something like that and put in the work, put in the effort, you know, sacrifice whatever I need to sacrifice to get back to something that I love, you know, because I'm truly full with, you know, gratitude to be able to come in here and train and fight. That's what I love to do. Like I wouldn't know what else to do.
You ever a moment where you go, why me?
You know, I think there's a couple times in your life, but I look at it like, is that the worst thing that happens to me? Talk about getting injured in something that you love to do, you know, or losing a fight at the biggest stage. There's so many unfortunate people out there that are dealing with far greater things than saying losing a UFC world title. You know, they're battling to stay alive every day. So, you know, that keeps me in perspective of what really matters in life. And I'm forever grateful and thankful, filled with gratitude to be able to come in here and be healthy, do something I love to do. I got air in my lungs, blood in my heart, and a dream to chase.
You've got such a strong group around you, good family. Is there ever a moment where you were at your lowest during all this, and what did that feel like? What kind of went through your mind during those times?
Man, I think that when you're at your lowest of lows.
Yeah, you're good.
I think when you're at your lowest of lows, you know, it's nice to have such a strong team, family, coaching staff, community that rallies you up and knows that they're still supporting you. You know, and that's what we have here. That's what I have in my family, friends. I have really a strong knit community of support that, you know, sometimes I'm the person that they lean on the most for, you know, battling through their, you know, self-doubt or insecurities or, you know, anxiety that they have or whatever they're dealing with. But at times, sometimes it's nice to fall back and let someone help you, pick you up, you know, dust you off, and, you know that things are going to happen, you know. And I'm grateful for Team Alpha. I'm grateful for my family and my friends. You had
one of the, I think, the knockout of the year, arguably one of the best things I've seen. I mean, a walk-off knockout. Can you kind of take us through that and just what that felt like to have a moment like that again?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you go into a UFC fight, you're fighting the best in the world. Like, these guys aren't, you know, fighting off S Street in Sacramento, you know what I mean? Some guys down there, you know. These are guys that are literally feel like they're the best fighters in the world, and they're sacrificing everything from all over the world. So to go in there and not only win, but compete at the highest level and be the best in the world is always an amazing accomplishment. But to get a huge knockout like that over a very skilled veteran in Raphael Assuncao, especially when I was going up, my back was against the wall. You know, I mean, I was on a 3-fight skid, and this was a fight for me to make it or break it. You know, I had all the feelings that I had when excitement and anxiousness and scared and passion back I felt, but you don't know until you get inside that cage and it's locked, and you're locked in there with your adversary, and then that's when you are tested on how bad do you want this, how bad do you love this sport, how bad do you want to keep progressing in this life, how bad do you want this, and that's when that cage clings and the door's locked. That's when you find out how much you love this sport, and the passion was back for it, and I was just in there, felt amazing. The game plan was great, and to get that knockout was just phenomenal to, you know, get that knockout and then also get, you know, a $50,000 extra bonus for a knockout. It was always nice, man. It's always nice.
At that time you were on a 3-fight skid.
Yeah.
I can't imagine breaking a 3-fight skid any better.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that, I don't think you could do that. You know what I mean? You go on a 3-fight skid to get knockout of the year. Arguably, I think that's one of the best ways to come back, but sometimes you have to remind people. You have to remind yourself who you are. And I think that's what I did on June. I knew that it was back for quite some time, but like I said, you don't know until you're in that cage, and you know, you have so many different feelings going inside you and emotions. I'm just grateful that the passion's back, because I got goosebumps and I was anxious walking down to the octagon. I haven't had that for so long. I think I was been so comfortable fighting my whole entire life that I have to have that kind of nervous, anxious feeling walking inside a cage, because there's things that happen that are out of your control. You never know. It's one punch can change the whole fight. So just being alert, you know, your senses are on overdrive in there, and having those anxious feelings, I think, make my, you know, visualizations and my reaction times that much quicker.
The biggest tragedy is there was nobody in the building. Yeah. What did it sound like once you did it?
Oh man, I just, after I knocked him out, there was like, you know, obviously it was an empty venue, but I saw like a lot of the UFC brass and some of the behind the scenes people that run the UFC, and just their face was like, wow, like, because he didn't get up for a while, and it was a hard shot, like it connected just perfectly, and it was almost like they were like happy like for me, but they were like concerned for Assuncao. I mean, he fell off the stool, and you know that's what we signed up for. But it was you know, everyone was just, I think, so surprised that they'd never seen a knockout like that. You know, even Dana came up to me and said, like, I've been, you know, the fight game since I was 13 years old. I've never seen a knockout like that. He's like, this knockout will be shown the rest of your life, you know. And so that's good to hear from the boss.
And you had the hair.
I had the hair. Yeah, the hair was growing out. The beard. So I kept the beard. I usually go the hair and the beard. The hair, it was too much last time. I was like too much. So I grow the war beard out each fight. So every fight camp, I just let it grow until the fight's over with, and I shave it off. So it's a war beard right here.
I was expecting hair that long almost to be braided at some point.
I was going to, but I was like, man, I got to that point where I was like, man, I can't do nothing with it. Just chop it off.
That's all. How about just setting us up to when you actually made that punch? Because, you know, I don't even know if you even heard the clappers. Did you realize how much time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know, I noticed early on in the first round I had my back against the cage, and I was doing a lot of more movement, and he was kind of hesitant of throwing. He was kind of just waiting. And I noticed that in the end of the first round, he felt like he had me kind of in a trap, that he would bring pressure. He wouldn't come forward. I'm more of a counter striker, and he wouldn't really bite on the feints. So in the second round, I kind of stayed there, you know, motionless. And he threw some combos. So I feinted once. I did like an 8-inch feint. And then I went down for like a 10-inch. I went a little lower. He chased my head. And I already knew like I was throwing my head off and won't land. And he fell for it, set it up perfectly. I had to get my hands in the cage to see how far I can like move back, and just perfectly timing, perfectly placed punch right on his jaw and knocked him straight out.
How long after that fight did you get COVID?
So I fought in June, and I got COVID in August.
Wow. Okay. Any perception you had of COVID before that to where you are now? I mean, did it just kind of totally change your mindset about the disease?
You know, I was always thought, you know, I was cautious. I didn't, you know, about it. You know, I mean, it was obviously people were dying from it. I think that's something that you have to, you know, put in your mind that, you know, people are dying from this. And it was, you know, obviously the older, you know, people with a lot of health complications. But I'm healthy. I was getting ready to train for a world title. I had a world title fight coming up. I had a kidney infection in January, so I think, I don't know if it was from that. I was on antibiotics. The infection came back a week before the fight, so I was on antibiotics again. I had to go up to an IV center and get antibiotic drip before my fight with Assuncao. So I don't know if my body and my immune system was just so weakened that, you know, and then I was constantly, I'm training every day. You know, I'm always wore down, always tired, always beat up. I don't feel like I let my body reset at all. So, you know, it was definitely the worst sickness I've ever had, you know, for quite some time. You know, like the vertigo, the blood clots. I tore my vein in my arm. My arm blew up to here with blood. I was on blood thinners for almost 4 months. So yeah, it was. I always took it serious, but I felt like if I ever got it, it was like, I'm young, I'm healthy, and I take care of my body. But it definitely did take its toll on me.
You're one of the most conditioned athletes in the world, and I think that was the eye-opening moment for me. Is like, I've heard of athletes get it, and then, but everyone's like, well, you know, people who, you know, look more like me might have a hard time to get it, right? And to see you as an example of somebody who did this, I was like, whoa, like to me, that really kind of opened my eyes from it.
It was, like I said, it was not a fun time in my life to have that, but I think just, I didn't know I had it for the longest time, so I was training through it. I was, you know, I had a world title fight coming up, like this is how I'm supposed to feel, fatigued, tired, drained. You know, you're fighting for a world championship, so like I just didn't have any excuses in my mind, like this is how you're supposed to feel, you know, and it's kind of how I feel each day training. It's you put yourself through the ringer in here, you know, it's not, you know, not a job for everybody.
When you were, because of that, you had to pull out because of the bicep. That was the fight that took you out of the fight with Figueiredo, right? When you have to do that, and obviously it's a title fight, do you have any guarantees that you can get that moment again, especially in that weight class?
There's no guarantees in this life, you know. There's only, you know, things that are earned, I feel. So, you know, go out there and earn it, you know. Like, it was taken away from me. Maybe it wasn't my time in my life to go and pursue the 125-pound world championship. But now I'm fighting, you know, the bantamweight. I'm right there. You know, I think it works out best. You know, I get this big win next Saturday, and I can, you know, plead my case for a title shot at 35, or I can plead my case for a shot at the flyweight. So I got a lot of options. So, you know, forever thankful at the time. It's like, you know, kind of bummed. It worked so hard to get there and get back to being on top of the world and my fighting, divisions, but it happens, man. Like, you just gotta, stay focused and find balance in your life.
And bantamweight compared to flyweight for you, that's not a big deal to go down to?
Yeah, not at all. I mean, I don't really cut much weight to bantamweight. I kind of, just watch what I eat the fight of the week of the fight. And again, all these guys that are cutting 30, 40 pounds are just, I never understood that. And for flyweight, I'd be cutting, probably 20 pounds, 22 pounds for flyweight. But I would diet. I don't even diet now. Like, I eat whatever I want. I'm going to go home and eat some Makuni sushi and fuel up and shit. Maybe might barbecue tomorrow,
So with Rob Font, I know at one point you had your eyes kind of on Aldo, and I know Rob's a little bit higher up in the rankings, even though the rankings don't really matter. I mean, for you, what's the challenge that is in front of you with Rob Font?
Rob Font, he stands in front of me of, every fight propels you and, in line for a title shot. I feel like, this is a title eliminator, so this is a huge fight for me to get back to title contentions at bantamweight. I prepared extremely hard, smart, with my coaches and teammates, and I'm ready to go out there and take advantage of this opportunity.
Anything he does that you really have to be cautious of?
Nothing really. I mean, I don't really focus on my adversaries. I focus on myself, and that's one thing that they have to, train for me. Like, something that I bring that they'll probably never see inside the octagon or inside training is speed and power, and just the tenacity that I bring inside the octagon. You have to take me out to beat me. I mean, it's not going to go to a judge scorecard. I had before, but it's definitely a landslide that I win by if it goes to a decision. So I'm ready to go. I'm ready for a battle. I'm not taking him lightly. I'm taking him as, like, he's the best fighter in the world, and this is the biggest fight of my life. So
you calling it? You think it's the biggest one?
I think every fight's the biggest fight in your. You have to think of that like that. If you don't, you're like, oh, I'm gonna fight Rob Font. It is what it is. But no, I mean, it's the biggest fight of my life. The biggest fight is the one in front of you, and it's Rob Font.
Final few for you. The way the division is looking, how do you kind of see things working out? I mean, it's so stacked right now.
Yeah, our division is one of the most stacked divisions. I would say the most stacked division. We think we have 8 former, or as of now, UFC champions in our weight class. We have 8.
Wow, that's crazy.
I don't think any other division has that. Name another division.
How do you kind of see things happening here in the next year?
I see it like I just keep preparing and taking these opportunities and believing in myself, going out there and getting the job done. I'll be the world champion, and that's all I see. That's all I've ever seen since I've saw UFC on TV. So I'm gonna be world champion. Every time, I'm gonna be in the UFC and be a UFC fighter. I'm gonna be a world champion. I made that happen, and once I set, my goals and my dreams and my vision, I make it come true. And that was with hard work, dedication, sacrificing, and I don't do it alone. I definitely don't do it alone.
Are you looking forward to actually people being in the venue?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, I love fighting for my fans. It's always nice to you go fight in front of 20 or 30,000 people and screaming their head off for blood. That's what they want to see. They want to see people. They want to see knockouts, and that's what I give them. I'm, a fan favorite every time because of my fighting style.
One of the best parts about knowing you is following you on social media as well. And the Jake Paul thing is blowing up so much, and I know you kind of got a little mix with him there. How much are you enjoying that? And is it something that, I mean, what was the big message you were trying to give him?
Man, this is real shit. This is real as it gets. Like, I feel like a lot of people don't respect him, and rightfully so. It's like this guy has money from YouTube, so he bypasses all the struggles that it takes to become this. You've got to be paid in full. You got to pay your dues. You know what I mean? Like, talking about the gym that I trained at. They have no heat in the middle of winter of Ohio. Like, they didn't have money to pay your trainers. You didn't have money for gas. Like, everything was a sacrifice. This guy gets top trainers, top coaches. Whatever he wants. So that's what it is. Like, and then he gets the biggest paydays. Good for him. Not knocking him on him, but he'll be exposed when he fights a real fighter. What I mean? He's hand selecting his opponents, and when he fights, I would even say a mediocre professional fighter, he'll get his ass handled to him.
I mean, it looks like Mayweather's next, right?
Mayweather's next for his brother, but his brother, Logan's, not the guy that's got everyone riled up, and you know, Jake said he's taking over this game. That dude don't know shit about boxing. He don't know shit about fighting. You know, he's talking about CT he has and stuff already. This is not. You don't play this shit. This isn't a stage YouTube act or skit. This is as real as it gets.
Are you surprised that legends of the sport like Floyd Mayweather, Daniel Cormier, they're even entertaining the notion of even fighting someone like this?
Yeah, they're pissed. They're upset. Like, dude, they pay their dues. DC's paid his dues time and time again. On the Olympic level, the NCAA level, you know, the raking himself up to a pro to become world champion, to a two-time. You know, Floyd comes from dirt. He comes from the gutter, man. He put in his due. He's paid his due. He's paid in full. So it's like this guy to come in here and say he's taking over the game that he's built, that he's, you know, he's the best at. He's like, no, I'm gonna let this happen. He's gonna beat the shit out of him. Like Trev, he's gonna beat the shit out of him. And you've seen that in the press conference. And Floyd ain't one to mess with, man. Like, he didn't grow up on YouTube and get his money from YouTube. He grew up fighting. That's how he got his millions on top of millions.
And you're trying to get him to go into the cage, right?
Oh, he didn't want to come to the cage. He did not want to come in the cage. You saw, there's a YouTube video of him in the cage against AJ Agazarm. And I don't think AJ Agazarm is, he might have a couple pro fights. I don't know if he has a winning record as a professional martial artist. And he got his ass handed to him. Inside the cage. He don't want to come to the cage. The cage is the real deal. Boxing's cool and shit, but honestly, like, boxing's only one discipline. Mixed martial arts all. You know, if you're pertaining to, like, as primal as we get as a street fight, or if that were to happen, MMA is as close as it gets. It's everything. It's grappling, it's takedowns. Like, boxing, you only got to worry about hands. That's why a lot of the fighters don't do that shit.
I appreciate you. Finally, because I mentioned social media, the good and the bad. I mean, are you banned from Southwest? I mean, what happened there?
No, actually, the UFC tried to book our flights on Southwest, and I told them I'm not flying Southwest. Man, honestly, that guy just had given a little bit of power, and he thought he could take advantage of it. My son was 2 years old, falling asleep, had a sippy cup in his mouth, and he tried to tell me that my son had to have a mask on. I'm like, it's not happening. So, and he's a coward. He went and got another lady and told us we had to leave the flight. So it is what it is. Not flying Southwest, which sucks because I've always flown with them, and they got the easiest flights, you know, to where I go, destination I go. But
they didn't apologize or anything to you?
They called, but it was basically like, you know, when you get in trouble and the principal calls you from home, like, hey, you know, talk to him, like, oh, like, it is what it is, man. Like, he's 2 years old. I'm not gonna sit here and explain myself why he's not having a mask on. He had a sippy cup, and it directly says if you're drinking, you don't have to have your mask on. He had a cup in his mouth. 7 in the morning, you know, taking the flight cross country.
I think they said children by 2. Don't.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just, it was like I said. I gave the guy a little bit of power, and he thought he could roll with it. He's still hiding in the bathroom though. That's what I heard.